You guys have had pretty much the same starting five offensive linemen from the last five or so practices in the spring. I know competition keeps on going, but do you feel pretty confident in this group right now?
Yeah, outside of what you see in practice, there's also some combo periods where, Marty Wiggins has ran with the ones, Takis Crawford's ran with the ones, E. Harris, Chambly's with the ones. So we're getting a good mix of guys to kind of build that confidence among the group. Because obviously, as you know, you don't control when somebody goes down. And if they haven't been put in that situation, their confidence is also going to be impacted. So those drills kind of later in practice are a time for us to utilize those different combinations, especially along the offensive line, right? Because you got trust among the five guys that are out there that you work next to every day, but you want to fight against the drop off when you sub a guy in, all right, or a mishap happens in the game, something along those lines. You want that player coming in to have that same level of confidence of working with those five. So I think we do a really, really good job. Coach Pittman does a good job with emphasis on those periods of, man, every day might not be great. You might lose somebody. What's your next guy up? What's your next combination? And that's really good for us. And it's really good for the players as well to have that confidence among the group.
But what are your thoughts on his progress from the spring to now? I know he's put on a lot of weight too since the spring, but his progress and what kind of ceiling does he have? Does he have potential to be great?
Yes, that's a good word. Now he's got to work for it, and he's well on his way. His first, 7 practices right there, compared to the spring. I mean, we're talking about a guy that's worked to get to that point, and putting a lot of things off the field to get to that point, and it showed. Really, really impressive. We're looking forward to getting him back this week to provide even more depth on the edge. But that kid came in and was really, really raw, right? When he got here, and obviously, I mean, was at 400. I mean, he can say 390 if he wants to, but it might turn over to 4 on the scale when he first got here. And has kind of retooled his body, reshaped his body, able to create power. I'm really, really proud of him. I'm excited for him to get back out there and get rolling and continue on that level of progression because it really, he's had a really, really good start to camp. And, like you say, as a coach, provide a lot of confidence when you get a guy that has the potential to be great like that if he continues on the trajectory he's on.
Well, Takis Crawford moved out to tackle today, Harris to guard. Do you see those guys as like interchangeable at guard and tackle, or do you like one of them at a specific spot?
I do. I think they're flex guys. I think it's good for Takis to get out there and feel what it's like on it because it's a different feel of the game, right? Going from tackle to guard. I think sometimes people underemphasize the big change that has and the ability for a guy to do that. You've got to play those guys in those roles so they have comfort and confidence within that role. But yes, I see them as interchangeable. They've both been taking guard reps. They've both been taking tackle reps. Their one reps have been my majority with guard usage up there with the ones. But yeah, with that 2 group, they're kind of interchangeable there at right guard and right tackle, and they've done a really, really good job. Like you said, today was the first day. Really, Ty bumped out the tackle there and let E get in the guard, but it's kind of a pickup from the bowl game there. You had Ty starting at right guard. He goes down and E. Harris fills in right there at right guard with the one. So continuing with that trend from the offseason.
We know that he's been sent out a little bit. Chambly at left tackle. Do you feel confident in him, or maybe if Manuel wasn't good to go, would you move someone else out to left tackle?
All honesty, after the 3 practices he's been there, I feel exponentially more confident in Andrew Chambly. He's done a really, really good job filling that role. But that goes to hats off to the D line and those guys too. He can't make the mistakes he makes with the 2s, with the 1s, and it flies. You know what I'm saying? There's a level of error there when you get up to the 1s where you can't get by. There's some things that your athletic ability can take over when you're a little bit more athletic than the guy. But when everything's even, you've got to trust on your training and trust your technique. And he's learned that lesson going up there with the 1s, playing next to guys like Brady and Bo and seeing how they handle their business and how he kind of has to transform into that, all right, and step up to that level. He's doing a really, really good job in there filling that void while Dev's down and going after the spot. That's the conversation we had is, you go in there and you perform at an elite level, might not have to give it back, So that's the thing for him that he's doing he's done a good job transforming his body as well, as far as in the weight room, being able to handle power rushes and utilize his hands better. Those are things he's working on. He's playing strong with his hands, and obviously with the frame he has, playing long. That's one big thing we talk about with his strike and his hand usage, is being able to play long and utilize that frame that he does have.
What have you seen from Braun? I mean, how, as a experienced newcomer, in what ways does he kind of help the unit?
Yeah, I think there's give and take with that, right? He played snaps at Florida into a new system, new verbiage, things like that. He's going to have a little bit of picking up to that pace as far as the coaching and the system we have. But he's done a really, really good job providing, leadership along with Bo and Brady, kind of being a guy that's been in the fire, right, of SEC play, which always brings you some comfort as a coach. He knows how you have to prepare in this league because he's done it. And that provides something along the interior that's only going to help you. And he's done a really, really good job taking a hold of the playbook, learning it, and coming into our system and providing value.
Revealing too much scheme, what's kind of the biggest difference going from last year to, a Dan Enos offense as an offensive line
I think
coach?
without giving away too many things a lot, I mean, there's, a big change within the run game of tight end utilization. There's a big change within the multitude of protections we use. Okay. And I would say the formations, have changed drastically with utilizing 2 tight ends and things like that. And everybody kind of asked me, well, are you going pro style? Well, did you watch the Super Bowl? You had the Chiefs and the Eagles. If that's pro style, then yes. So pro style has kind of shifted along the years. And, I think it's really enjoyable for our guys to turn on and watch NFL tape and be like, oh, that's so-and-so protection. That's this run. That's it. It's very equatable to that.
Washington was in here yesterday. He said he likes playing next to Kudus. He's doing things like an 18 or 19-year-old normally doesn't do. Like, what's the ceiling for Kudus? How's his camp been?
Excuse me, man. Kudus' ceiling is also extremely high. Obviously, him coming in here, he's still a young kid, a young man, all right, age-wise, but his weight room numbers and things like that, his strength, he is very, very gifted in that neighborhood, all right? He's going to squat over 600 pounds, very, very strong on bench press, things like that. His movement patterns, he's a smooth mover. I think the best thing for him in this camp is he's going up against SEC caliber defensive ends, okay? Because at times you wonder in practice, maybe you're going through it and you're like, well, would that hold up against top tier SEC competition? I think that's the biggest thing for him. It's kind of the same thing we touched on with Chambly, is he's having to raise his game. With lower level guys, he can kind of get by on athletic ability and things like that. But now any chink in the armor is going to show versus top tier talent. And I think that's what he's working through and he's finding out. His whole life he's been very, very gifted. And now he has to hone in on his technique and clean up some things there. But he does some things that are very uncanny for young players as far as the strength category and things like that. And only continuing to get better as he learns more in the game and gains more confidence out there on the edge.
Limmer getting transition to center, getting smoother and smoother there.
Yeah, I think it's very, very smooth right now. He's learning how to set protections, and not just a multitude of protections, right? And how to set runs and spot runs, very similar to what they do on Sundays. So that's huge for his development. And goodness gracious. He's done a really good job transitioning to center. Obviously, it happened in the bowl game there versus Kansas. Step in and did a good job. And then the change within an offensive system provided him a chance to kind of deep dive into that playbook and learn those things there.
Preseason should be, but Coach Pittman has talked about how that move will help Bo next level. Do you feel the same way about getting NFL center guard Bo combo there?
100%. I think when scouts come in, and we have scouts at practice it feels like every day, and a multitude of them. And that's kind of the thing they ask among the interior guys is, can he snap? That's kind of the first question they're going to ask. Can he snap, or has he played tackle? They're going to go in one flex position, because obviously in the NFL, you're going to take, maybe 8, 9 on the roster there on the 52. And you got to have flex players that are able to cover different positions. So I think that's huge for him in his development towards, his ultimate goal, his individual goal, to go and play at that level. So I think it's really good for him. He's speaking the lingo now. He's able to, I feel like if he goes in with an organization, he's going to be able to seamlessly transition to their playbook and how they, spot runs and spot protections and things like that. So I really think it's evolved his game.
From Saturday scrimmage.
Yeah, I think at times, protection wise, we've got a multitude of protections that are new, and building confidence within those fresh protections versus live fire defense. I think you've got to work at that, and you've got to put yourself in those situations that are hard situations, right? And luckily for us, we're not doing it against guys that let you get by halfway doing it. You know what I'm saying? That defensive line is humming now, all right? And executing those protections on a board and knowing who you got to get to and doing it in live action are two different things. So we've got to be better in that regard, okay? And we talk a lot about making the conscious decision to go finish, I think there's a time and there's a point in every block where you may be in a bad position or out of position a little bit, and you've got to have the mental toughness to make the decision to go get to your fit, all right, to go get there. And I think that's things, I just talked to the guys about, hey, we got to make the conscious effort every play to finish in our fit where we need to be, that can help this run, that can help this protection. And I think we got to tighten that up a little bit. But, I think first scrimmage, you're going to have a lot of things that you need to clean up. And those are just two things kind of we talked about that are goals for scrimmage too there. And, that's kind of, that's.
You've referenced several times the top tier talent that you're practicing against. Who has flashed you? Who in particular over there?
There's a lot of flashes over there, right? I mean, you guys see the roster. You guys see who we brought in. Trajan Jeffcoat is a real live dude over there. He's an SEC caliber guy that is going to give these tackles. You're not going to have to worry that they're prepared to go into SEC play, going against him off the edge. And then, you look over to the other side, you got the Landon Jacksons of the world, you got the John Moore. You've got guys on both sides who don't let you get away with poor technique. All right, they're going to exploit it. So those guys along the edge, the newcomers inside, Kiwi, all right, has flashed the past couple practices inside, doing a really, really good job. Tank Booker's doing. I mean, those guys are big guys, right? They're large humans in there in the middle, very on par with what we're going to see on Saturdays. And then you got TC, you got Cam Ball, you can go pretty deep over there. So we're really, I mean, you have to, every play, whether ones or twos, you have to rise to the occasion. You cannot just get by. You have to be on your A game, or they're going to exploit you. And I think that's a true benefit to have those guys wearing red, because you're not worried as an offensive line coach, man, are we getting a real life SEC look? There's no doubt about that.
I want to ask about a couple of the younger guys. I've seen they're getting some 2 and 3 reps. Luke Brown, I know he missed the spring. How's he doing?
Yeah, coming in and doing really well. We put him at tackle. We flexed him in the guard today. Just trying to find his niche where he fits in as far as tackle or guard. Obviously played tackle in high school. Moved him into guard. Really big, powerful kid. His learning curve is going to be within the pass protection, all right, pass sets and things like that. He knows that. He's got to get better at it with those techniques, but doing a really good job hopping in there. The other young cats, Parrish Patterson, doing a good job at that left guard spot, growing within the game, understanding that offensive line is not just smashing someone straight down the field, learning the angles he's got to take, learning the techniques he's got to pull with, where his eyes need to be, things like that, that you just go through the Rolodex of things as offensive line play to become a complete player. That's what he's learning more of. And those are the two young guys that are active rolling right now. And then Aaron Smith has stepped up, the younger freshman from Conway, doing a good job out there at tackle, getting some plug and play reps across the board there. So he's done a really, really good job here in Kent.
And Lewis on that line had 3 Power 5 signings. What was it like going in there and recruiting? I imagine it was pretty crazy.
Yeah, it's not just on the O-line either. That's a really good program. You know, I don't know how far I can go into all that stuff, but it's yeah, it was really good experience to meet Paris throughout the recruiting process, and go through that. So.
On the topic of recruiting, how much has things changed for you as a recruiter? I mean, it used to just be about building relationships, right? But things have changed a lot. How have you adjusted to that?
I think it's a wholesale change, right? I mean, there's a lot of factors that go into recruiting now outside of relationships and things like that. You know, I won't get up here and make a stance or anything like that. It's a wholesale. There's a lot of factors that play into recruiting that have changed the game, have shifted the game, and you've got to be prepared for that and know how to navigate it. I do think relationships still play a big role in it. There's just some other things outside of it that, you know, it's changed a lot. The whole game's changed, right? I mean, there's a lot of things within that, and you know, obviously, media and guys cover it, but it's a big change up.
There to the transfer portal.
I think it's like the coupling of the NIL and the transfer portal that has caused for the wholesale change. You know, because I think back in the day when the transfer portal wasn't here, you know, there wasn't a threat of guys, you know, hopping in it and things like that. It's just you got to adjust, right? I mean, you know, I used to have a old coach say, you know, the dinosaurs die. You got to evolve. You know what I'm saying? You got to evolve with the game. Like you got to do what's right and do what you think's going to work in those situations. And everybody's learning, right? It's a huge learning curve with this whole thing because it's uncharted territory. All right. We're the first crew to go through the coupling of transfer portal and NIL. So you're trying to navigate these things and make the right choices, but there's no how-to on it yet. You know, there's no book for dummies on how you do it and how you navigate it. So you're living it. It's a constant learning process.
Coach, I think you said Amari Wiggins was running with the ones a little bit. Was that? I'm assuming that was at guard.
Actually was center in the combos. You know, he went up there with the center, playing the first center spot right there. You know, later in camp, maybe it will be with the guard combos. We'll see how it progresses. But he's doing a really good job adjusting as far as playbook and things like that, not having really a spring and coming in and having to grasp it through OTAs in the summer and things like that. He's done a really, really good job. He's a quieter, really mild-mannered guy that can take control, and he's learning every day. And I think just adjusting to, you know, the top-tier talent and things like that, you know, have been good for him. He's stepping up.
That's when Josh Street, I guess, got put on scholarship. What do you think about that?
Yeah, man, I was a walk-on, right? And I got put on scholarship. It was the best day of my football career, right? You work, you bust your tail, you do what you got to do, you show up every day, and really you get no reward. All right. You're busting your tail every day, doing what you need to do, showing up on time, executing things in practice. And really you're doing it for the love of the game, right? And then you hit a moment where you get put on scholarship. And man, that's something he can tell his kids. That's something you can carry with you throughout life. That if you work hard for something, people will notice and you'll get rewarded for it. And, you know, go chase your dreams, man. You know, go chase your dreams and everybody's going to tell you, hey, man, that might not work out. You can't do this. Man, that's too much. If you go work and you consistently do everything you need to do to your highest level, all right, eventually people start falling off and you'll be the guy hanging on, you know. And it just, you know, I get on a soapbox with it, but that means a lot to me, man. All right, value and hard work. And that kid, he's done it. He's in utilized on special teams units, utilized with O-line depth, and he's done a really, really good job coming into our program. It's awesome to see guys take that path and bust their tail and get it done.